Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Property Zone Live again. My name is Sean Lee. Actually, I'll be sharing the topic budget 2020 and quarter three Malaysia property market. A snapshot on both of them. So, without further ado, let me just share my screen. Okay. I hope everyone can see. Okay. I'll kickstart with the budget 2022 just announced in October. Okay, so I know no many article has been written about budget 2022, and bear in mind a lot of things announced in budget it will only take in effects 2022. So I think it's still worthwhile for us to take a look at it. What does what impact does the budget has in the overall economy, but more specific to the property market. Okay. Now, before the announcement of the budget, our Prime Minister promised that this is going to give us a wow factor about the budget 2022. If you look at the details and the overall of it is, we realize this is the biggest expansionary budget ever because the total amount of money involved is at staggering 332 billions. Okay, this is the wow factor our PM promises. But because of the Cukai Makmur that was announced, okay, the stock market lost 33 billions initially, okay, whereby the tax Makmur revenue is only to be around 3 billion. Now, three significant things for us to take away, I think more specific to property sector. Of course, the first one, I will talk about abolishment of RPGT. To be specific, is on a 6 year onwards. Second thing will be the Housing Credit Guarantee Scheme, hcgc, and the third will be Cukai Makmur, right? Now, the abolishment of RPGT, which is the short term for real property gain tax, okay? Previously, before COVID, all right, during the Pakatan Harapan's government administrations, there was a 5% tax on any property sold after 6 year onwards. Now, the 5% may seems a bit small, but the reality is if the 5% will be taxed on a property that purchased, let's say 20, 30 years ago, okay? If on paper, the paper profit, the paper gain is around 2 million, people, the seller will actually have to pay 100,000 on it. So now, with the new announcement of 6 year onwards, no more RPGT is actually a good news for a lot of long-term property buyer or investor. Okay. Now, the second thing is only applicable to Malaysian and permanent residents. Okay. While we pretty much can guess, the first 5 year holding will be like first 3 years 30%, and then subsequently fourth year 20% and 15% before 5 years. There's still no confirmation on that yet. Okay, if the significance of it in relative to property sector, I think it's about 3 out of 5. Second, Housing Credit Guarantee Scheme, hcgc. Now, some of the summaries to take away is the government has allocated 2 billion ringgit as a collateral to sponsor the scheme. Now, this is particularly useful because a lot of people without fixed income, when I say without fixed income, not without income, is without fixed incomes, it's quite challenging for them to get a loan from the bank. So with this, when the government step in as a guarantor and provide 2 billion as a collateral, it allows a lot of gig workers, small business owner, or even farmers, people without a fixed income, can actually get the loan easier. Okay. At the moment, the participating banks are DSN, and hopefully more will come on board. Of course, the other one, the significance of it, I would rank 4 out of 5. Third, Cukai Makmur. This is a one-time prosperity tax. I'm sure you have read maybe in details of it, but for those who have not, Basically, what it means that from next year onwards, if a company profit is going to be above 100 million profit, okay, on top of the existing 24% tax the corporate has to pay, they need to pay additional 9% that above 100 million profit. So if you are earning 150 million, for example, the first 100,000 you pay 24% corporate tax, but the remaining 50 millions you have to pay 33%. It's one time off. So when actually this news first came up, it creates so-called wow factor to the market. Market were concerned that whether it would get the foreign direct investment away. We take a look back, not really, because within the 3 days after the announcement, Bursa saw foreign institutions withdrew only 19 million. I think compared to the local 400 millions, the short-term effect is relatively mild. Yet, I would think that Malaysia government has to be mindful that foreign investor or investor per se, what they like is certainties. What they really dislike is uncertainties. So when you have a sudden change of policy or a U-turn policy per se, it may have a long-term permanent effects on foreign direct investor confidence in the longer term. Okay. Now, I know the budget has doesn't say much about property sector, but what it doesn't mean is that we were in expansionary mode, okay? Because to fight COVID, the government actually announced a lot of measurement, a lot of policy that is to stimulate the property market, and most of them are still intact, okay? Now, next, I want to share with you to take a snapshot of property market Q3, quarter three, okay? We just came out hot from the oven. One thing we realized that, to give you a general things, we have been affected greatly by COVID. But ultimately, first time this year, we are seeing both the volume and the value of the transactions are going up. So if you take a closer look, just first concentrate on the volume. Okay, so residential still consists of the big chunk, which is close to 70% of the total transaction volume. And the volume has gone up 3.8%, okay, compared to last quarter. If you look at the value wise, residential actually consists of about 49%, half of it in terms of value, but the value of the total transaction has gone up by 38.8%, which is a remarkable figures, if you ask me. Okay. The other things we want to look at is how about the construction activities? Because we know that property is not a roti. It takes time. In fact, it takes years from the planning, construction, and come to completion. So in these figures, what we want to do is we want to further break it down to three types of property as per NABIT. Okay, we have shop stratified and we have service apartment, landed, and high-rise, these three figures. But let's just concentrate in the residential, landed, high-rises, and the service apartment. So what you do realize that completion for residential, okay, which is inclusive of landed and high-rise, will be 21,000 for completed. About 25,000 unit has just started the completion in Q3. And new plan supply is coming in with 26,000 plus unit. But on the service apartment side, one thing you realize is that even though the completion stand at 5,000 and construction stand at close to 11,000 unit, the new plan supply is actually coming down significantly. There's one thing for us to take note of. Okay. Next, unit launch, residential newly launched based on Q3 this year, where you look at, there are close to about 5,000 unit has been launched. Okay, the sold unit stand at 1169, which is about 23.6%. Now, if you further to break it down onto high rise and landed, and we do know that okay, landed is still much preferred choices by Malaysian. So if you look at the breakdowns for both figures, okay, 97 units were sold, okay, and compared to landed, it basically has 1072 units sold. So in other words, whatever that's sold 1072 divided by 3028, you basically has 35.4% sold. Okay. The other one is the breakdown that the top four states come with the launch unit. You can see here. Of course, no, we are looking at Selangor, KL, as well as Pahang and Melaka. Okay. Next, I think the other things what we are really focusing on is how the overhang situation means. Okay. In short, the definition of overhang is if a property unit is completed, okay, if the developer is not managed to sell it off 9 months after completion, this will become an overhang figures. Okay, to look at the situation in Malaysia in terms of overhang situations by state, you will realize Johor has the highest numbers of overhang units that happen in Q3. So Johor is number one with 6441 units, followed by Penang 4006, and subsequently Selangor and KL. Okay, but if you look at the price range wise, most of it, about one third of it, are in the region, in the price range of 500,000 to 1 million. Okay. Now next, if you look at a situation with accumulated, okay, not just a number that happened in Q3, but in accumulation, you will see Johor is still standing at number one with 16,000 plus units, and then followed by KL 4,006 and Selangor about 2,005. Okay. Then the other things we want to see is basically the housing price index. How does the price movement of the house that Q3 and Q2, basically you compare quarter 3 and quarter 2, all happened within this year. Of course, we are still seeing a bit of downtrend, even though the volume and value has picking up in Q3. The changes among all, you will see that the terrace has come down by 1%, whereby high rises come down by 2.9%, and subsequently, you will see semi-detached house comes down 3.6, and detached house 2.5%. This is again the changes we are comparing quarterly to quarter. All right. So I think this has come to the end of the snapshot and some update about the budget 2022, and also a snapshot to look at the summarize how we actually interpret the figures on the Q3 property market given by NAPI. So with this, that's the end of the sessions. I hope everyone stays safe and have a pleasant evening. Good night.